Welcome back. Our coverage continues here at Davos 2026. I'm Shrereen. Bhan. The tariff uncertainty, the geo-economic and geopolitical volatility, all of that is having an impact on investor sentiment. CEOs are anxious and they're feeling anxious about the state of the world, and it is likely to have an impact on how they decide where to invest and when to invest. Joining us now to talk about PwC's annual CEO survey, but more importantly to also talk us through the trends that could shape 2026 on the back of the conversations that they're having, is the global CEO of PwC as well as the head of their India business, Mohamed and Sanjeev. Always a pleasure. Many thanks for joining us here on CNBC TV 18. Appreciate you joining us. Let's start with the PwC CEO survey. So feeling anxious, that's the headline, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. Shrereen, first of all, thank you for having us. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. But anxiety is real. And the results of the CEO survey are confirming the anxiety level that we have on multiple dimensions. The first one is around growth. We find out that only 30% of the global CEOs are thinking that they have a trajectory to grow their business in 2026. Only 30% of them.
And that's a 5-year low, I believe.
That's a 5-year low. And it's lower than last year, obviously. And it's very interesting to see. Even though they have less confidence in their ability to grow their business, they actually have confidence about the global economy, which led us to believe that there is a challenge around business, but also the leadership acumen that is required to run businesses today in the midst of that uncertainty that we are dealing with. The second big finding that we also have is around all this capital that is being invested today on artificial intelligence. Not all CEOs are seeing the benefits of artificial intelligence when it comes to the top line of the business on the revenue side, but also on the bottom line. It's only 12% of the CEOs that we interviewed that said that they're seeing the benefits both on the top line and the bottom line of the businesses. So
the ROI question still not settled, far from being settled.
Far from being settled, because about 56% of them are saying that they're not seeing yet the ROI of AI investment. Now, we have our own beliefs about what should be done when it comes to artificial intelligence, but the results are telling us that more to do on the artificial intelligence front, but also a lot of questions around what is the leadership of the future in this environment that is changing very, very fast every day on the technology front and on the geopolitical front, both at the same time.
Well, I'll talk about the leadership challenge in just a second, but Sanjeev, let's talk about India, because that is perhaps one of the bright spots that the world is focused on, and especially here in Davos. That is something that we are hearing from CEOs that we speak to, and that's showing up in the survey as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, while Indian CEOs are not so sanguine about global growth, again, a 5-year low of 45%, they are much more sanguine about the growth in India, 77%. Again, lower than last few years, but still very high quantum. And I think that's got to do with the fact that, not only is India the highest growing economy, 2025 India has been fairly resilient. There have been a bunch of reforms that the government of India came up with, including, the labor reforms, which we have been talking about at GST rationalization, etc., a bunch of FTAs signed. The FTA with EU somewhere nearby.
Likely to be closed on the 27th of this month. Yeah.
So not very far away, and I think just gives Indians the confidence that they ought to be investing in India, being part of the global value chains as much as possible, boosting productivity, and also scaling their businesses, which they possibly have done in a bit of a sandbox environment so far.
Yeah, India, Mohamed, and the survey says that it is the confidence in India as an investment destination has gone up significantly over the previous survey. What are you hearing from people that you speak to on the kinds of investments that they would like to do in India, the sectors that they would like to invest in? What's changed?
Actually, first of all, we have to acknowledge that it's a great thing that just happened. Because now India is actually number 2, right? Yeah. At par with the UK and Germany when it comes to investment destination. The US still remains the number 1 destination for capital investment. But when it comes to India today, with the talent pool that you have in India, the size of the population and the growth trajectory of the country, we are seeing more and more companies globally that are looking to invest in India, not only in the services sector, but also in the manufacturing sector. That's the next wave of growth that we're also seeing in India. And of course, India is now part of this wave of investment in artificial intelligence, not in the large language models, but in the data centers and the computing power that's required to generate all the benefits of artificial intelligence.
Yes, that infrastructure build out is just about
It's
starting to happen. But when you talk to clients about foreign direct investment, flows, at this point in time, do you think 2026 is going to see more stronger flows into markets like India?
Yes, we actually believe that independent of all the geopolitical tensions that we are seeing today, and artificial intelligence is here to stay. Now, many CEOs are saying that they're not seeing the benefits, but they're not stopping though when it comes to investment in artificial intelligence. So we believe that investments are going to continue to go into India based on the stability of the country, but also the opportunity that you have in the countries. Not only on the supply side, which is the people that you have, the ability to have on the manufacturing footprint, the services economy, but also on the demand side because of the size of the population that you have today.
What are US CEOs saying today? And of course, a lot of it is going to be dictated by what President Trump decides to say or do. But outside of that, while the US continues to be the #1 investment destination, what are US CEOs telling you today?
Today, we are hearing from US CEO that the fundamentals of companies around the world, as honestly, when you ask me the question about the US, especially in the US, the fundamentals of companies are good. Independent of all the discussion that we have around artificial intelligence and geopolitical. So what we're hearing from CEOs, they will continue to invest. Capital will continue to be deployed because the opportunities still exist. Now, we all understand with many of the CEOs around the world that they will have to have optionality of being able to be agile in the allocation of capital. But nobody is stopping. That is something that is very different from last year. There is an acknowledgement that investments have to continue because more opportunities will lie in the future. Challenges, but opportunities at the same time.
Well, speaking of challenges, one of course the challenges the world is faced with in light of the tariffs is this business of once again reworking supply chains, reshoring to the US, which is something that President Trump is asking across industries to do. What is all of that going to mean in the near term as far as investment decisions are concerned?
First, it attracts investment. Flow of capital is moving around the world, but as you know, it's not just about the US. The same conversations are happening around the world, whether it's Europe and Asia, US and Asia, etc. So this is a conversation that is global when it comes to reshoring and figuring out where capital needs to be deployed. As I mentioned earlier, Germany and the UK are also the second destinations when it comes to capital allocation. So we are seeing movement of capital today based on opportunities. Tariffs are indeed having an impact on the design of supply chains today, but people are working it. Okay, there are short-term impacts that we're having, but eventually people know where to invest the money based on having the right supply chain that they need to have, but they're also going after the big opportunities. I would tell you a lot of the CEOs that we talk to, they focus on growth, and they're going where the growth is going to be.
Well, yes, and global growth estimated at 3.2%, so steady, pretty much where we've seen it. But, Sanjeev, let's also talk about the asks from the India side. I mean, you mentioned many of the changes that have already happened. We've got a budget coming up. What are global CEOs saying in terms of what else they would like to see India put on the table?
See, one of the things which continues to be a challenge is, in terms of factor cost, is the cost of logistics. I think we have done well. But still we're about 8%, a little over 8%. I think that still makes us a bit uncompetitive, I think the other piece really is about clustered development. I think that's been an ask of the industry as well, that can we do clustered development as, for instance, we have seen in the eastern neighbor and so on and so forth. I think that's one of the other things. And the one other thing is really about urban development of our urban infrastructure. I mean, we talk about, the labor code has come in, but we talk about more and more women coming into the workforce. That does require urban infrastructure development so that it is integrated at some level. And I think that's something which possibly needs some more effort. The focus on healthcare and education, which is there. And I would say one more thing, which I keep discussing, at least in India, maybe a bit of a rehaul of our education system so that our STEM graduates are really relevant for the disruptions that are coming through today. So they are still at cutting edge, as they have been over the years. So a bit of a rehaul of our education system so that the pride that we have in our STEM students continues. And I think that's an area of investment as well.
Well, what about PwC's plans for India, doubling down on the business there?
Absolutely, and Sanjeev knows. He's the one actually leading the way for us in India, and absolutely. And again, for us, we look at India as two parts of India. Access to talent, critical. You just mentioned the education system, but you have one of the largest talent pool in the world, with the STEM graduates that you have. And when you think about the demand on new business model, etc., we are doubling down on getting people in India. But the second part, India is also important for us because a lot of the multinationals that we work with outside of India want to access the Indian market. And you also have giants in India, large corporations that are not only working in India to increase their footprint in India, but also they're trying to go outside of India. So, India is absolutely a focus for us at PwC.
The leadership challenge that you spoke of, the leaders of tomorrow, what will they look like?
The leaders of tomorrow are leaders that can learn fast. Learn not only about technology, but what's happening geopolitically, so they can understand how to run their businesses with agility in this new age of uncertainty, where instability is now the norm. The leaders of tomorrow are the ones that can do scenario planning, but continue to execute on the strategy with this agility when they learn something in the market that is changing. The leaders of tomorrow are the ones that do not stop. They're the ones that learn and continue to execute the strategy.
Well, we hope that we continue to see leaders having to learn. They have no choice, by the way, in the environment that we're in. And agility, of course, will continue to be the name of the game. Always a pleasure. Many thanks for joining us here in Davos. Thanks very much for taking us through the highlights of the PwC annual CEO survey, but more importantly, what the world looks like in 2026 and what will be the trends that will shape it going forward. We'll take a break. There's a lot more coming up. Don't go anywhere. Back in a moment with more conversations.